Hello, my name is Kern and welcome back to another Stupid Tech video, a series in which we explore some tech that is so crazy, maybe difficult, maybe obscure, that it is borderline or actually very stupid. Today we're going to be covering super bomb tech, and this is one of my favorite areas of super tech, simply because things can get pretty ridiculous in terms of like what you're able to do, that you maybe shouldn't be able to do, and what the obscurity of those, how rarely they come up, and the difficulty of some of them. It's just like the perfect combination. So the super bomb is an item that you need to access the Pyramid Fairy. In the vanilla game, this requires you to beat the 5th and 6th dungeons. In the randomizer, these two dungeons are helpfully marked on the map as red, or they have a star next to them if you are shade or colorblind, so that you can see them just as well. And that allows you to simply return the super bomb and get the items that are inside of here. In the randomizer, we're on the practice hack, but in the randomizer there would be 2 chests that this would give you access to. So there's a lot here. There's a lot of limitations with the super bomb, what you can and can't do. There are a messy list of logical requirements and an even messier list of ways that you can sequence break some of those requirements. And there's some pretty bizarre tech that applies to the super bomb, which for the most part is not very useful. However, if it does become useful, it could be incredibly useful, saving you even minutes over your opponent. But the situations in which that happens are so rare as to be stupid. So let's dive in, shall we? So let's start our stupid tech exploration with just discussing how does the super bomb work and what sort of limitations are we trying to work around and work with here. So first of all, it does cost 100 rupees to pick it up. As far as I'm aware, inside that bomb shop when you first pick up the bomb is the only time you can have the super bomb indoors. Perhaps there are some major glitches ways to get super bombs inside, but I'm not even sure about that. So for the most part, you're going to be seeing the super bomb in the overworld. Some things about the super bomb: it will follow you. It is a follower. But each follower has a little bit different behavior, and super bomb's no exception. If you dash or press A, if you don't have the boots, then the countdown timer will start, and once that countdown timer reaches 0, it will explode. So that means that you can't dash with the super bomb. Like, it's not going to work. There are some ways around that are quite funny, but for the most part, that is how it works. The number there is a little bit lingering on the screen, I believe, because we're in the practice hack. I'm pretty sure that it wouldn't be doing that if we hadn't modified the HUD here in the practice hack. Other things that are interesting about the super bomb: if you are to just make a safe state here, if you were to drop it next to a bombable wall and it were to explode, then it does act like a normal bomb and opened it up. So how useful is that going to be? Not very useful, because if you were short on bombs, why not just pick up the bomb pack right next to the super bomb? But there are maybe some prac hacks where like that information is good to have. So that's an interesting thing to be aware of as well. The interesting thing about a bomb that not a lot of people know about is that you can swim with it. So I believe I don't have flippers on. Oh, I do have flat flippers. Okay. So you are able to swim with the super bomb. A lot of people think that you can't. You just have to be careful, like don't press A while you're swimming, because then you drop the bomb, right? But you can still stroke by pressing B or Y as normal. A lot of people think that you can't swim the super bomb. This is because if you were to hop off a ledge, then the bomb doesn't follow you. So this is the only follower that has that behavior. Some followers have behavior like the super bomb, like the purple chest, where if you press A, it is left behind, and it's hard to go into doors with them. But the super bomb just doesn't like being left behind. So I'm just going to turn the flippers off here so we don't lose it. So it would stop following me as soon as I hop in the water, and it would start its countdown timer. And if I don't pick it up again before it stops, then it will explode. So this has some pretty big implications in terms of what this means in terms of logical requirements, because the East Dark World, where we need to return the super bomb, is blocked off by a few obstacles, a couple of which are these bodies of water. And these particular bodies of water, being the northwest and southwest side of Lake Hylia, and also the west side of the Dark World river crossing, do not have a way to get into the water other than to hop off of a ledge. Like, there is no shallow to deep water boundary for you to just walk into the water on. So that creates a bit of a limitation to super bomb there. Another interesting thing to note about the super bomb is that you can like drop it, start its countdown timer, walk away, and the countdown timer will continue. and if I were to screen transition back, it'll be right where I left it, and I can pick it up before it explodes. So that's quite interesting behavior. It's maybe something you wouldn't expect, because you usually expect sprites to be offloaded from the screen, you know, as soon as you screen transition. I'm actually not sure if it would work if you go 2 screen transitions away. Let's find out. So here I transition. Countdown timer is still going, and Super Bomb is still there. So that's quite interesting and unexpected behavior, I would think. It is also a thing that maybe you wouldn't think of immediately, but you can flute with the Super Bomb, which for the most part is not useful if you're playing normal game modes, but can be quite good to know if you're playing Entrance Randomizer in particular, because that can be a requirement to return the Super Bomb. And as you can see, you can also mirror with Super Bomb. And then one final limitation here with the Super Bomb: you cannot save and quit or save and continue with it. So if I were to die with the Super Bomb and hit save and continue, the Super Bomb would no longer be following me. Or if I press select and save and quit, it would also be gonzo. So let's just review the logical requirements real quick and see what exactly the game wants us to do in order to return the Super Bomb. So first of all, you need access to this Super Bomb hut area, which means that you're going to need like access to the west side of the Dark World. So that looks like you always need the mirror, logically, or you need the gloves and the hammer, or the Titan's Mitts. So if you had the Titan's Mitts, you could, for example, enter the portal to Village of Outcasts and then walk down here just fine. So that's how you get there. Another way that you could get there is you could also do the Aga method, defeating Aga method, which would mean Moon Pearl and Hookshot, and one of the flippers or the hammer or the power gloves, plus the items that are required to defeat Aghanim, which are a fighter sword and a cape or a master sword. So it's already getting quite convoluted, but it gets worse, because this is just how you get to the Super Bomb hut. Then you need to consider, well, how do we actually get to the pyramid? Ordinarily, this would be just normal East Side Dark World access methods, which would include some flippers methods, but as we discussed earlier, you can't hop off the ledge with the Super Bomb, which means that our normal flippers ways won't work. And the main way you need to get over there is via the hammer, by hammering down these pigs. There isn't an easy way to get over there other than this. So that's one way. The other way is if you defeat Aghanim and you have the mirror, then you can walk up here and mirror over in order to return the Super Bomb. So you'd walk up here, item to the mirror. Then this puts you close to the Hyrule Castle gate portal, and then you can just walk in, and that'll bring you to the pyramid. So that means that you also need the hammer or having defeated Aghanim in the mirror. And it's the second part of the requirement about how you actually get to the pyramid that becomes the most relevant when we're talking about sequence breaks. Because if you have to do Aga 1 for no other reason than to return the Super Bomb because, let's say, the hammer is inside the Pyramid Fairy, then that constitutes quite a bit of time save if you're able to sequence break that. So we're going to be getting to that when we talk about sequence breaks. The other thing I want to mention here is the inverted logical requirements, because they are kind of interesting and a little bit different. So if you are in the inverted game mode, then you would need to be able to get to the Super Bomb hut, which is where Link's house would normally be in inverted game mode. And then you would need to come up here and use the mirror in the Hyrule Castle area to then get to the pyramid. So there is no way to get there other than to mirror. I have tried many a method, like trying to activate a Houlihan and use other glitches that we're about to get into, like Super Bomb Teleport, in order to make the bomb follow me into the Dark World in weird ways. But as far as I am aware, there is no way to activate that. So let's talk a little bit about how you can move quickly with the Super Bomb. This is the part of tech that is going to be most relevant to most people because it is useful every time you return the Super Bomb. So we can't dash, right, with the Super Bomb. We're going to leave it behind if we do. So that's a little bit of a limitation. But one thing that we can do in order to move a little bit quicker is we can hookshot around. So, you know, if we're trying to get over to the other screen, we can like hookshot this bush, for example, and then walk on our merry way over. But there's another bit of tech as well. If you are damaged or otherwise have a moment where the Super Bomb is catching up to you, you are able to dash in that small window without the Super Bomb activating its countdown timer. And the tech is a little bit tight and can be difficult, but let's just try it here. Okay, so I failed it there. It's important that it knock me away from my bomb. Okay, failed it again, and I'm gonna die if I keep doing this. Let's try it off the Hinox. So there we go. it was still catching up to me when I was damaged, and then that allowed me to dash. Obviously, you need to be a little bit more consistent than that in order to actually save time with this. But another much easier way to do this kind of bomb catching up to you method is to use the hook shot. So while you're hook shotting, the bomb lags behind a little bit, and that allows you to activate a dash. So you could do interesting things with that. Like for example, normally you couldn't hammer dash with the super bomb here, but if you were very, very tight and fast, you could like hook shot, item to the hammer, and then start a hammer dash before you have to press down in order to not grab the hammer pegs and then start a hammer dash. It's very difficult tech, but I do see people try it, including me. I go for it every once in a while in a race. There it is. So that's kind of fun. I mean, you're not going to save a ton of time with that, trying to hammer dash with the super bomb, but it is cool to know that you can do it. But yeah, just the idea that, like, you know, you can hook shot and then dash around can be quite useful. This is another set of bushes that are often used. So from here, you could do that and then get interrupted by the Hinox, which is a danger. And this final screen, there's a few places you could hook shot into the fence here. I like to just deboost off of this goblin and then come up here. Another thing interesting that could fall under movement tech category is when you return the super bomb, you know, in front of the wall, you can't just stand right in front of it because then you're going to pick up the bomb again and the countdown timer is going to start or stop. So what you can do, however, is if you were to be in super speed or activate super speed, you're kind of in a dashing state, so the bomb won't be following you in that case. So let me just demonstrate that real quick here. If I were to drop the super bomb by activating, you know, a spin dash, let's try it again. So now I'm in super speed. I can't pick up the bomb because it thinks I'm dashing, so it won't let me do that. There are ways around that. So for example, if I were to do a hook dash while the super bomb was catching up to me in that free frame, I can now be in super speed with the super bomb following me, which is not terribly useful in most routes that you're going to be taking to return the super bomb, but it is kind of interesting to know. Not a lot of people know that you can be in super speed with the super bomb. But in any case, that's not relevant to what I was about to say here with the bombable wall. So if you can't stand in front of it, right? Because then you're going to pick up the bomb again. But you want to be able to enter the door as early as possible. So what a lot of people do is like they'll drop the bomb and then they'll just wait for it to explode and then they'll walk up or whatever. But what you could do is activate spin speed like this. Now you can't pick up the bomb and you can stand right in front of the doorway. And that allows you to walk into the room like on the very earliest frame that you can. You see that tech quite often in Randomizer. But there is a tech which is a lot more complicated and difficult. That allows us to take the super bomb after we've already left it behind. So if we leave it behind, we can get it to come follow us again using this tech. So this is called bomb teleportation, or sometimes called bomb duplication. Either one are used quite often, either name. And how this works is if you are to do something to basically like refresh the screen, right as the super bomb explodes, when the countdown timer is 0, then the super bomb will follow you. So like let's say I dropped it on this screen, countdown timer is going, I'm gonna get right at the edge of the screen transition, 1, and I'm gonna try to do it. Okay, so I went a little early, so I'm just gonna screen transition back and forth. This is kind of a safe way to do this. You can see the super bomb follows me through the screen transition, and it teleported to me. So it was way over there, and now it's with me. This can be quite useful in order to sequence break things, but can also be useful to save time. So I'm not going to be able to do the exact low percent strat here because I've already walked into the door, but low percent would have you like drop the bomb, you slash a couple of times, come up here, and then you screen transition like, you know, right as the countdown timer reaches 0 is one way to do this. And that allows you to just go hop north off of the ledge rather than walking all the way around the building, or all the way around the building. I didn't save any time there off of that application because I didn't get it my first try. Another way that you sometimes see this in low percent of the vanilla game is you see them drop the bomb and then just dash and then just kind of eyeball the timer. So here's another way that you can activate the screen. Here we go. Did I miss it? Is if you mirror right as the countdown timer reaches 0, then the super bomb will follow you. So yeah, there we go. I got it. And in low percent, of course, you have defeated AGA 1. So you would just then walk through this portal here and be able to continue on your merry way. The final way that you could activate this is with a fairy revival. So let's see if I can just do this off the cuff. I'm not going to spend too much time trying to set this up because it is quite difficult. Let's get down to good heart value. So if I drop the super bomb, this is very, very difficult to do correctly. 3, 2, 1. I think I was too late there. But you can see it's quite difficult. Like, it relies on enemy RNG to be able to get this off. Pretty sure I was like several frames too late there. Yeah. So if that were to work, then I would have been, you know, it would have activated a bomb dupe as well. You might be thinking, why not use the bombs? Well, this is another limitation to super bomb that I forgot to mention, and limitations in behavior. You cannot use your own bombs while the super bomb is following you, which does have some pretty relevant limitations that applies to sequence breaking certain item requirements in order to return the super bomb. So you know, it would be super easy if I could just drop a bomb and then time that, you know, when the countdown timer reaches 0. It would be very easy to come up with some kind of setup that would allow you to do that consistently. But because we can't do that, we're like very reliant on enemy RNG killing us on, you know, a pretty small frame window. If I had a fairy, that would have been it right there. So I'm bummed that I didn't have a fairy in this save state. But yes, that is super bomb, teleportation, and duplication. But why do we care about this? It's because this will be one of the ways that can allow us to sequence break a AGA 1 or hammer requirement, is by duplicating the super bomb. So let's take a look at some of those applications. So first of all, let's discuss what we're actually trying to sequence break here. So if I don't have the flippers, and I try to, you know, hop into this river crossing, for example, I'm not going to be able to get very far. There is a jump that was recently discovered by yours truly that allows you to, you know, use a bomb to boost yourself in a screen transition here, but because we have the super bomb following us, we can't use our own bombs. And in fact, this applies even if I were to drop the super bomb, I can't use the bomb. If I were to screen transition away, I still can't use a bomb. So that's not a viable strategy in order to be able to get into fake flippers here. So we need some other way to allow us to get into fake flippers if we don't have any items whatsoever. The only way that I can think to possibly even do this is to use this Hinox right here. So let me just get myself a low power sword, just so I don't accidentally kill him. You can manipulate his RNG a little bit, like make him turn around. If he's facing you when he starts a movement, then he will move a little bit quicker. And you can use this combination of things in order to get the Hinox to move where you want him to move a little bit. So if I were to get him like up against this tree facing this way, maybe like right here actually, and he threw a bomb such that the bomb landed right on the edge of that ledge, then I maybe could use that bomb to deboost myself into the screen transition. That is the only way that I can think that this is even remotely possible to do this with no items. And of course, this does require me to get the Titan's Mitts in order to return to the north side after grabbing the super bomb. So I would say if you have no items, or at least none of the items that are listed over on the sidebar over here, then it's not really viable. So let's assume that instead of no items, you have a fairy in a bottle. Again, it is theoretically possible, I believe, to get this off of a Hinox, and I want to say I've done it before, but I can't say that for certain, so I'm just going to say it's theoretically possible. If you can get this Hinox to throw a bomb on the edge of a ledge, such that you could hop down and take your final hit, then that could allow you to fairy revive. I know that the Hinox bombs behave a little bit differently than normal bombs, and so it is possible that you hop in and that you die when you come back up on top of the ledge while you still have iframes. So that is something to watch out for, and it is very difficult to set this up. Again, it relies very heavily on enemy RNG, but if all you have is a fairy in a bottle, it is possible. It is possible, although not very practical to do this sequence break. Before we move on to the next way you might sequence break, I should also mention there is another way that you can use a fairy in a bottle in order to sequence break the ledge, and that would be a interrupted pitfall via fairy revival. So if you don't have the boots, which is the easier way to set this up that we're about to demonstrate, you can do this by killing yourself as you fall in a pit. Now, ordinarily, this is quite easy to do with a let's see if we can set this up correctly. Oh. Want to get him to the side here. It is ordinarily quite easy to do with your own bomb, but obviously we don't have access to our own bombs. Okay, I think this is a good setup. Let's try this. Ooh, this is very difficult with this particular enemy. I think that's it. We're going to find out. Okay, so I think that might have activated. We weren't in the falling animation, which is like a surefire sign that we've activated it, but we were like slipping into the pit. Let's find out. Yeah, we've activated it. So we've just activated a water walk, and this will allow us to come over to the North River crossing and use the water walk in order to do a super bomb duplication or teleportation. You could also activate this with the boots. If you're interested in that setup, go check out my water walk video, but we're just going to use this water walk that we've already set up. So what you do is you just hop in, and there's a few different ways that you could screen transition in order to get the super bomb dupe. There is that whirlpool up there to the north. I find that a difficult one to use. Ideally, you want to use a screen transition because you can easily buffer the transition back and forth until the bomb reaches 0 instead of having to eyeball it. The whirlpool is a lot more difficult to use in that regard. If you were quick enough, you could also go up the diving board, but let's just demonstrate this. I think I just eyeballed that correctly first try. So yeah, so now we've got it. Thanks to our water walk, we were able to bomb dupe. But yeah, this works for both the fairy in a bottle method and also the boots method. So let's go check out what this looks like if all you have is the flippers. So we're still at the North River crossing, and I'll explain why in just a second. But if you do have the flippers, it is possible to do the screen transition here. It is a little bit more difficult. So you'd hop in, line yourself up on the edge. I used the, swim into the, and I just missed it, swim into the edge of the wall here in order to kind of buffer moving at the correct thing. And then you have to time it really well. You can see I keep going a little bit too early. So you can't buffer this. You could pause buffer, but you have to be careful because it does take you a second to build enough momentum. And my pause button is a little bit janky here. So I think that I'm going to be late there because I did not build enough momentum early enough. So you have to like actually eyeball, I believe. Like that's it, I believe. Yeah. So that's what it looks like if you do have the flippers. Now, the reason that you can't do this in Dark Lake Hylia is because there isn't a screen transition close enough for you to be able to do this with just the flippers. There are other combinations of items that will allow you to do this in Dark Lake Hylia that saves you that walk, that horseshoe walk all the way around the western side of the Dark World, so that instead you can just go through Lake Hylia and go right up to the pyramid, saving you a bunch of time. But yeah, as far as I am aware, with just the flippers, you're not going to be able to activate a bomb dupe quick enough before it explodes. But say that you have the flippers and the mirror. Well, we can't actually use Dark Lake Hylia in this instance. So if I hop into Dark Lake Hylia, and I can be anywhere, but let's say I'm on the Hylia Island, which is a common place. Like if you haven't yet checked the Hylia Island in Randomizer, you might choose to chain this with a super bomb turn in, which is quite cool. And then you might pause buffer here. Pause buffering here works a lot better than in some other situations. So now just hit 0, and I know I need a mirror. And the super bomb will follow me into the light world. And then from here, I can just swim across the rest of Dark Lake Hylia to get to the pyramid. Let's say, though, that you don't have the mirror. Now, in most situations, you won't want to be performing the sequence break without the mirror. Because, again, let's remember, the most often you're going to want to perform the sequence break is when you're trying to avoid having to do Aghanim 1 because the hammer is in the Pyramid Fairy. In that case, logically, you need the mirror in order to be able to do that. And the mirror is likely going to be a useful item in the seed that you're going to be running anyway. So there's not much reason why you would want to do the sequence break without the mirror, but the reason does exist. For example, if Swamp Palace is a pendant dungeon and the mirror is not required to beat the seed, and the mirror happens to be deep inside some other pendant dungeon, then it's nice to be able to know variations that don't require the mirror. So in this case, it is possible to do fairy in a bottle and flippers. It is very difficult though. So you would hop in and then you would find an item to kill yourself on, but you have to kill yourself on the exact right timing. So let's see if we can't pause buffer our way to glory here. Oh, so close, so close. Go to 0 before he goes away. Oh, I died too early. So it's very difficult. It relies on enemy RNG. So these are the kinds of things that you want to avoid having to do, but it is possible. Is it going to save you time in the end? It depends on how consistent you are at it. Okay, now you're probably asking yourself, if you've been looking ahead, do my eyes deceive me? Is that an ice rod and a Quake medallion over there? And no, your eyes don't deceive you. That is correct. This is probably my favorite bit of stupid tech, because when do you think about sequence breaks involving these items? So it doesn't have to be the ice rod. It could be the ether medallion. It depends on the kind of enemy you're trying to freeze. Some enemies will freeze to one item and not the other. But in this case, the Hinox, I believe, will freeze to either. So we freeze him, and then we throw him such that he lands on a ledge. This version, which doesn't involve a fairy in a bottle, it is... you would want to do this on the North River crossing. I don't think that, this would be viable anywhere else. Anyway, then you Quake medallion, and this turns the enemy into another enemy that's now on the water. And the good thing about this particular enemy is that it's going to be very consistent, because he follows you around, like your position on the map. And you can use that in order to manipulate his position to bump you into a screen transition. Now, I'm going to try to do this here. It is can be quite difficult to do appropriately, because you have to be quick. Oops, I have the flippers. That's not going to be useful in demonstrating this. That probably took me too long. Yeah, so you want to kind of... Oops. You want to kind of lure him down a little bit. Give yourself just a little bit of time to get into position. Oh, that was almost it. So the idea here is that we're trying to use him to damage us into the screen transition. Very similar to the bomb jump. Oh, and I went too fast that time. Let's pick up my bomb again. Very similar to the bomb jump that you might do in this area. Too slow. There it is. And now the hard part. Now we have to screen transition at the exact right time, and I went too early. So it is very punishing if you don't get it, especially considering that you had to walk all the way around the Dark World in order to get here. So if you needed to reset it, then you'd need to walk all the way back to the bomb shop. I don't recommend that you do this. Again, Ice Rod, Quake, like, come on. When are you going to be in this situation? And it does require practice. Like, you can't just, like, pull this out in the middle of a race. So I don't really recommend you do this. However, if you have a fairy in a bottle, this gets a little bit easier, maybe? I don't know. At least more consistent, I guess? Let's check it out. So now let's imagine a really convoluted scenario where you didn't have the flippers, the mirror, all these other items, but you did have a way to freeze enemies, the Quake medallion, and a fairy in a bottle. So this is really, really deep into the realm of stupid tech. Well, you could also do the sequence break in Lake Hylia. So you can't freeze these enemies with an ice rod. You will need to have a ether medallion, although maybe you could freeze this guy. I think you could freeze this guy, actually. Yeah, you could freeze that guy, but let's just use our ether medallion. Just for fun. Alright, so we're already at half a heart, which is good. That's the life total we need to be at right now. So now you want to kind of like come above these posts and toss the enemy so that it lands on the wall again. Quake medallion it to turn it into a jumping guy. And he will now be allowed to be on the water. So now the hard part. You can't just land on him and do a fairy revival. If you had a mirror, like this could be a way to activate fake flippers and then use a mirror, which is a way that I didn't put on the sidebar. But we have to like stop with these item combinations somewhere. Anyway, so instead, if you don't have the mirror, you need to use the fairy revival to activate a fairy, a super bomb dupe via fairy revival. So this requires some pretty precise timing. You can't jump in right when the timer hits 0. You need to jump in right before it hits 0, I believe, or is it 1? I don't know. Let's make a save state because I'm going to mess this up. 2, 1. Oh, wait, no, yeah, it's not 0. It's 1. I'm dumb. 3, 2. So let's do this. That was a little bit early. That should have been perfect. Let's see if that worked. One of the bummers with this in this particular setup is sometimes it activates a glitched super bomb teleport. Yeah, you can see this activated it. So the teleport, the super bomb teleport kind of worked. Like the bomb was still alive, the countdown timer reset, but it didn't follow me for some reason. And I don't know why that happens with this particular setup, but I think it happens when you're just like a hair too late. Again, that should have been good. It also might have to do with like super tiles or quadrants in Dark Lake Hylia. I don't know. Not a lot of people have done looking into it because who's going to do this, you know, normally. And now I've already screwed it up. If I didn't have flippers, I would have screwed it up by walking onto land there. Because you just have to be mindful that you are now in fake flippers if you don't have the flippers. And like not run into any enemies like there. And I also stroked with the A button because I'm dumb. But in any case, that is the most convoluted way in the world that you could sequence break an aggro requirement. So I should mention that I am quite kind of cheating a bit here when I talk about item requirements, because I'm not talking about a lot of things, including all the splash deletion methods of activating this glitch. So there's just a lot of combinations of items that could do this for you, and it is possible to basically substitute anything that would normally require the flippers with a splash deletion. You just have to watch out, because a lot of the ways that you might normally activate a splash deletion would be to use bombs, but we can't use our own bombs here. But here's an example. So if you had the Cane of Samaria, you had arrows, you could do like, let's see here, and a red boomerang. You could do 1, 2, 3, throw the red, hop in the water. That would do the splash deletion. Oops, crap, I just clipped into the wall. But then in order to actually activate the super bomb, I would need to use a mirror here, for example. This would be one way that you could do it. I have now like soft locked myself because of where I've decided to do this, but if I hadn't soft locked, I think we'd be fine here. It looks like the bomb's over there, still over on the left part of the ledge. I think if I could move here, it would like warp to me, which is usually how it works. So don't do that. Don't clip into the wall accidentally. I'm not even sure how that happened. But anyway, this is just me saying I am aware that there are other combinations of items that could also get you over here just fine. So, you know, be inventive and maybe try to figure out some way on the fly. That would be pretty cool. Now for your moment of zen, I would like to just talk over a video here of an absolutely ridiculous version of returning the super bomb. So we start off by grabbing the super bomb as normal on the earliest frame that we can. Then we do a dash to set up a super bomb teleport, activating it just now. Then we dash in the middle of our dash. We drop the super bomb to set up the timing. This is the stupidest super bomb teleport of the whole run. Finally hitting it there. This is one of my favorite bits of tech here. If you hook shot and then do a hook dash, you can get into a spin speed here, or super speed with the super bomb following you. Then we intentionally drop the bomb here. And this setup is actually really, really good. If you were ever to learn any of these setups, that would be the one. So that's our third super bomb teleport, I believe. Totally intentional damage there. Now we're coming up to set up a water walk. And we leave the super bomb behind because this timing works out a little bit. It's very risky, but it does work out. Then we immediately drop our bomb again. And this one relies on us getting this super speed here. And then screen transitioning for it falls. I believe that's our fifth teleport. We're dropping it again for our sixth. And we need to dash cancel against this fence post here to make the timing work out. And now we're ready to activate our actual water walk. If you get spin speed on this stair, then you can screen transition just in time to come to the south part of the screen transition. We use our hook shot to allow us to dash here a little bit. And then this next screen, I couldn't find any movement optimization, so we just walk it over. You get a little cheeky dash off of this D-boost there. You want to dash as far north as possible to avoid lag. Drop the super bomb, activate a super speed so that you can be right in front of it, and entry at 2:06:12. So there it is, your moment of zen. Have fun trying to beat that, and thanks for watching another super stupid tech video.